Rain-slicked streets gleamed under the neon lights, reflecting the restless heartbeat of the city. Shadows clung to alleyways, shifting with every flicker of faulty lamps. And in the midst of it all walked Mira Stone. At 32, she was a woman who had learned the art of survival in a world that demanded more than innocence. Her beauty, her allure, and the secrets behind her eyes were her currency, and every night she used them to navigate a dangerous game where desire and betrayal intertwined. Mira's life was a delicate balance of calculated risk and seduction. She wasn't naive. Every client she entertained, every encounter she staged, was meticulously planned. Her profession, one society whispered about in hushed tones, was never about lust for her. It was a chessboard, each move deliberate, each interaction a probe to understand the men who believed they were in control. And yet, there was something more, a hunger not for money or approval, but for power, for the ability to rewrite the rules that had once trapped her. Her clientele spanned the city's hierarchy, from ambitious businessmen desperate to climb to influential politicians whose smiles masked ambition and corruption. Mira knew them all. They believed they could possess her, that they could exploit the softness of her voice or the warmth of her touch. But Mira's mind was sharper than any of them anticipated. A whisper here, a revealing glance there, she gathered secrets as effortlessly as breathing. And among them was Ethan Kellen, a rising political star with charm that hid a cold, calculating nature. The first time Mira met Ethan, it had been under the pretense of vulnerability. She leaned against the polished marble of his penthouse, rain streaking her hair and gown, as he attempted to charm her with words dripping in flattery and subtle threats. Mira listened, storing every syllable. Every boast, every confession, every mention of rivals and alliances became a tool. Ethan wasn't just another client. He was the key to dismantling a web of corruption that had haunted Mira for years. Her past was a shadow she wore lightly, yet carried heavily. Years ago, she had trusted Ravi, a man whose betrayal had scarred her deeper than any wound she bore on her skin. That betrayal had pushed her into the city's underworld, forcing her to master the art of manipulation, to sharpen instincts that could detect danger and deceit from a mile away. And now, as Ethan revealed his connections, his enemies, and the power plays that governed his life, Mira recognized patterns she had studied before. Patterns that could be exploited. Her past was a shadow she wore lightly, yet carried heavily. Years ago, she had trusted Ravi, a man whose betrayal had scarred her deeper than any wound she bore on her skin. That betrayal had pushed her into the city's underworld, forcing her to master the art of manipulation, to sharpen instincts that could detect danger and deceit from a mile away. And now, as Ethan revealed his connections, his enemies, and the power plays that governed his life, Mira recognized patterns she had studied before, patterns that could be exploited. Rain streaking her hair and gown as he attempted to charm her with words dripping in flattery and subtle threats. Mira listened, storing every syllable, every boast, every confession, every mention of rivals and alliances became a tool. Ethan wasn't just another client. He was the key to dismantling a web of corruption that had haunted Mira for years. Puncturing the enchantment from her phone, Ravi had resurfaced, entwined with Ethan's political rivals, plotting moves that could topple both men's ambitions. The timing was perfect. Mira knew the storm outside mirrored the one she would unleash. She sent an invitation to Ethan, subtle yet suggestive, promising a night of intimacy and whispered secrets. When he arrived, confident and unaware of the trap awaiting him, the room was dimly lit, shadows dancing across walls as lightning sliced the sky outside. Mira's appearance, vulnerable and inviting, was her mask. Beneath it, she was a predator preparing to strike. "You think you're untouchable," Mira murmured, tracing a finger along the rim of a crystal glass, eyes glinting with calculated intent. "But every move you've made, every lie you've spun, they've all led you here, to me." Ethan's smile faltered. The realization struck too late. Mira had orchestrated everything. She revealed fragments of his dealings, pieces of information stolen from his own confidences, and insights gathered from other powerful men he had underestimated. Each revelation was a strike, a reminder that the game he believed he controlled had long since slipped from his grasp. Meanwhile, Ravi, the man who had once betrayed her, was maneuvered into a trap of Mira's design. She used his ambition and his desire for power against him, guiding him unknowingly into the collapse of alliances he thought untouchable. Mira's web was intricate and deadly, built from the very desires and secrets that had once ensnared her. Now, those same tools became instruments of her control. The night deepened, rain hammering the windows, as Ethan realized he was not in a room of seduction, but in a carefully orchestrated cage. The storm outside mirrored the chaos within, his empire of influence and deceit crumbling in ways he had never anticipated. Mira had flipped the rules entirely. By dawn, the city breathed under a pale light, streets washed clean of the night's frenzy. Mira stood atop the rooftop of her apartment building, hair damp and clothes clinging to her, gazing at the horizon. The shadows of her past, of betrayal, of survival, of nights spent navigating a world that sought to control her, remained, but they no longer dictated her steps. She had claimed her power, bending the game of lust, influence, and ambition to her will. Mira smiled, a dangerous curve of lips that promised more than anyone could imagine. In the underworld of desire, she was no longer simply a woman offering intimacy. She was intellect, strategy, and force incarnate. Those who had underestimated her learned the price of their arrogance. She had survived, yes, but she had also risen, untouchable, unstoppable, and more cunning than ever. The city awakens below, oblivious to the storm of calculated vengeance that had played out among its corridors of power. Mira descended from the rooftop, a shadow slipping through the morning mist. Her work was not done. Her influence would continue, subtle, unrelenting, a force the city would only gradually recognize. And as she vanished into the streets, she carried with her a quiet truth. In a world ruled by secrets, desire, and betrayal, she was the one who held all the cards.